it was either they were gonna get me, or I was gonna go down for a long time. And we drove to London, and I told them to take me to Pan Am Airlines, and they dropped me off. I said goodbye to Tommy and Jimmy, and I said, I'll see you, mate. Thanks very much. And I walked in, and my wife was sitting there. And as we're sitting there, she went, "What are you doing? Where are you going?" And I'm sitting there at the airport at Heathrow, and I said, "I don't know where I'm going." So I looked at all the flights. I said, "Shall I go to Spain?" I said, "Australia." And I had a 10-year visa in my passport for America. And I'd met friends in Miami. I thought, shall I go to Miami? And then I got this thing came through my head when I was on the QE2. And Elizabeth Taylor had told me to go to Hollywood. And she'd actually said to me when I was young, "Why don't you be an actor? You'd make a brilliant actor." I said, "No, I'm not an actor." She went, "Terry, even if you were a butler in Hollywood," she said, "they'd love you." And anyway, I looked at the flight and I went, fuck it, I'll go to LA. So I bought a return ticket, and I said to my wife, "I want you to sell everything." And I'd had a place in Southport. I'd got a custom caravan made, and it was the headquarters. It was at a park called Riverside, where we would all meet and plan everything, and no one knew about it. I said, and I just had a custom made, and I said, "I want you to sell it and sell me cars." I said, "Get all the money, and I want you to fly out, quit your job." I felt terrible for my wife, and it took me back to the days of Biggsy, Ronnie Biggs, what he had gone through, and I was feeling the same thing about Biggs, because part of my life when I was young, I'd been on the run, and here I am now, really big, and I was going on the run, and I had this horrible feeling. So anyway, I said to my wife, "I'll see you." And she went, "Where will you be?" I said, "Well, I always remember Santa Monica. I'll go to Santa Monica." So anyway, I kissed her, and I was boarding the flight, and I was sick as a dog, and I couldn't turn around. I was so emotional that it had this grip on me that I was destroyed. But I thought, I've got to go. So I get on the plane, and I sat at the back of the plane. There was 4 seats, and they were coming around giving me stuff and that. But I was actually, at the time, I was sick. The sickness started kicking in. I wasn't well from the emotions, and there was certain things that was wrong with me from what I'd been doing throughout my life. It was catching up with me mentally. So, get off in Los Angeles, gets off the plane, and in them days it was like a bubble, and he just went through the immigration, never asked any questions, and I came out, and it was a lovely day. The sun was shining, and it was lovely. So I said to this fellow, "Where's the taxis, mate?" So I jumped in the taxi, got the taxi. I said, "Take me to Santa Monica, will you?" I said, "Is the hotel a motel?" Or he went, yeah, I'll take you. So I ends up in this motel called the Carmel Hotel on 2nd Street off Ocean Avenue. And it was a beautiful night, and looking at the palm trees and all that. So I goes in this bar, and it was called the Cheshire Cat. It was an English pub. And I went in, and the girl looked at me, and I looked at her and I said, "Do you sell British beers here?" She went, "Oh, yeah. Yeah." I said, "What have you got?" She said, "Newcastle Brown, we've got this, we've got that." I said, "Just give me a Newcastle Brown." And she was nice like, and she went, "Where are you from?" I said, "Liverpool." She went, "Well, the chef, he's from Manchester. I'll go and tell him." So next thing, the chef comes out, and I said, "All right, mate, how are you?" I said, "All right, how are you?" I said, "From Manchester, from Liverpool." He said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I've just got here for holiday. I'm on holiday." "Oh, are you?" "Yeah." He said, "There's a British bar up the street called the King George V. He said, "There's a Liverpool fella in there, he's the chef." I said, "All right." I said, "I'll go up there later." So I was tired and all that, exhausted. Booked into the car motel. It was cheap. It was like, in them days, it was like $15.
Banging.
And I had loads of money with me. I had 50,000 quid. You know, it was a good chunk of change. And then, you know, what else was coming over as well, what my wife had had. And so got my head down, slept. Next thing, I thought, I'll take a walk up 4th Street, Santa Monica Boulevard, and seen the pub, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Sun shining, beautiful. I was watching all the Cadillacs go by in the day then. All the lovely Cadillacs and Mustangs and all the big Jaguars, and it was beautiful. Thought, this is the life, you know. And I goes in the pub, and I sat at the end of the bar, and there was a Cockney behind the counter. John, he went, all right, mate, what you want? And I said, have you got a pint of lager? Where you fucking scarce it, are you? I looked at him and went, yeah. He said, there's one in the kitchen here. He's a fucking pain in the ass. And I went, really? Yeah. And he said, I'll go and have a word with him. So the guy comes out in the kitchen. He comes out and he goes, all right, mate. And he's staring at me. And he went, I know you. He went, I know you. Aren't you Terry? He said, I slept in your mother's house. He said, I'm a friend of Alan's. And I looked at him and he went, Eddie Creed. And I went, all right, Eddie, how are you, mate? And he went, what are you doing here? So anyway, I said, Eddie, can I talk to you? So I told Eddie what had happened, because Eddie had been in Borstal. And, you know, I could talk to somebody. I had no one to talk to. So eventually, he said, I can get you the job here, you know. These Norwegians had just bought the pub, come from Norway, and they paid like $250,000 for it. And he was saying to me, have you got any money? And I went, yeah, I'm fucking loaded. And he said, yeah. So I said, I'm staying now and that. And I said, you know, I'm on the run now, got to stay away. So he said, I can get you the job here.
If you're looking for a gift, my new book, Sit Downs with Gangsters, is available worldwide on Amazon. We've interviewed over 1,000 people now, and we selected 10 of the hardest hitting stories to go in this book. Each chapter features the story of one of our podcast guests. Those stories are Shane Taylor, Knife Maniac's Redemption; John Elite, Mafia Hitman for the Gambino crime family; Joey Barnett, 35 years in UK prison; Ian Blink MacDonald, £6 million bank robber; Chet Sandu, Asian smuggler in Spanish Supermax; John Lawson, the hit team commander; David Macmillan, international smugglers Thai death row prison escape; John Abbott, San Quentin prison shootout and escape; Michael Francis, Colombo crime family capo portrayed in Goodfellas; and Wildman, English enforcer in Arizona prison. Link in description box on YouTube, available worldwide on Amazon. Also, my next book, Untouchable Jimmy Savile, is getting published in December 2023. So check that out as well. It will be available worldwide on Amazon. Thank you for listening. Cheers.